Greetings and welcome to this invaluable training session on grant funds, directly brought to you by the passionate individuals representing each municipality. We are thrilled that you have joined us for what promises to be an enlightening and empowering experience. I am G. Horton with Tidewater Home Funding, and I have worked as a mortgage loan officer for the past 14 years. And it's my privilege to provide these resources that will benefit your clients. Tidewater Home Funding prides themselves on being experts in the local grants. We will help your borrowers with the process. To start our presentation, I want to introduce to you Michelle Phillips. Michelle Phillips is a loan officer at Tidewater Home Funding, and she has a success story that she would like to share with you. Michelle takes pride in providing weekly updates to you, your agent, and the listing agent throughout the loan process. While she enjoys working with all clients, she has a special passion for helping first-time home buyers. As a lifelong resident of Tidewater area and the member of Tidewater Funding team since 2002, she has extensive experience helping clients secure a wide range of loan and grant programs. Her top priority is customer service, and she finds it incredibly rewarding to help make her clients' dreams of homeownership a reality.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Michelle Phillips, as G has said, and I just wanted to talk about my best success story so far over the 21 years. So I have dove into the world of grant funds and super excited. This particular borrower that's on the screen was so deserving, as they all are. Her sales price was $200,000. And she only had to put down 1%, which was $2,000. She got a grant from Virginia Housing Development Authority for the other 2.5% down payment. She received the grant from Norfolk for $60,000, which is $55,000 towards the down payment and $5,000 towards the closing costs. And then she also received the Federal Home Loan Bank grant for the first-time home buyer for $12,500. So all of that totaled $77,500. So that $200,000 sales price ended up putting her loan amount at $131,789 and her total monthly payment of $1,184, which was cheaper than she was currently paying in rent. So that is all our goal. And I just wanted to let you know, as the loan officers at Tidewater Home Funding, we do this service for all of our agents and borrowers, and we go out and help you find these grants. And we could not do this without each and every one of you who are on this phone call today. So thank you so much.
That truly is a success story. I know all of us here at Tidewater Home Funding were just so thrilled for her borrower and for Michelle, because we know there's a lot of work and perseverance, and it just really takes knowing these grant programs, and Michelle knows how to do it. So during the process, we're going to get ready and we're going to open up and start with our guest speakers. Please put your questions in the chat. At the very end, we will have an open panel discussion, and we will certainly answer each and every single question. So our first up, and I know you all know this beautiful face, this is Georgette Hutchins, and we all know her as Gigi. Gigi currently holds the position of Business Development Officer at Virginia Housing. In her capacity with Virginia Housing, she plays a vital role in supporting approved lenders and partners in the Hampton Roads region. Her responsibilities include providing training, promoting various loan programs and initiatives to both consumers and partners across the region. Before joining Virginia Housing in 2016, Gigi served as a community mortgage specialist with a specific focus on facilitating financing opportunities for minorities to low to moderate income households. In this role, she collaborated with housing authorities and nonprofit organizations to enhance awareness of homeownership and the significance of financial stability. With a remarkable 17 years of experience in the banking industry, Gigi has consistently maintained her commitment to offering access financing options, valuable homeownership education, and particularly to first-time home buyers. Welcome, Gigi, and we appreciate you being here.
Thank you, G. I appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. Michelle, I love the story that you told, especially, that first mortgage was with Virginia Housing. So, what a success that is. So, keep on doing the great work, Michelle. So today I am going to talk about our exciting news at Virginia Housing that goes along with the grants, our specialty programs. But in December of last year, we have introduced our expanded income limits for our repeat buyers, as well as we have increased our income limits throughout the state. So that is exciting news for us at Virginia Housing. We continue to hear from our partners, when will your limits increase? So we have done that. The limits have been increased for sales price limits. The housing income limits have been increased. And as I mentioned, we have introduced expanded income limits. So for Hampton Roads, the household income limits have been increased for first-time home buyers on our bond programs, and this will include all household members' income. So if you're a borrower, if your client is looking to do a Virginia Housing grant or our closing cost assistance grant for a two-person or fewer household, that income has been increased to $84,000. For a higher household, for the same specialty programs, we have increased that income to 97,000. If your client is looking to do a plus second mortgage, which can get them up to 100% financing, or just a standalone, we have increased that income to $105,000 in Hampton Roads. And for a higher household size for three or more, it has been increased to $121,000. And also on top of that, we have increased our sales price limits in Hampton Roads to 475,000. Can I get a woohoo for that? I think that is great. What we've done, we've heard our partners. When are you going to increase your income? So we have done that at Virginia Housing. We've also, as I mentioned, expanded income limits. This is something new to Virginia Housing. Those income limits have been increased to $152,000. And this is with our non-bond mortgage programs. And these programs can be paired with our plus second mortgages only. And let me say this has no max sales price. So that means your loan officers at Tidewater Home Funding will follow the insurers sales price limits for that program. And also, on top of that, this program is for repeat buyers. So you can have a repeat buyer do a Virginia housing loan. So you can increase your target audience to repeat buyers with Virginia housing products. And you can qualify them up to $152,000 with Virginia housing with no sales price limits, with household sizes income of up to 152,000. So I talked about all of these sales price limits. So what areas do they include in Hampton Roads? It includes Norfolk, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Gloucester, Isle of Wight, Hampton, Matthews County, Newport News, Portsmouth, Suffolk, Williamsburg, York County, James City County, and Poquoson. All of these areas are included in our increased household income limits. And if your area is not included in this, and it will be included in our all other areas income. And those incomes are available on our website at virginiahousing.com. So we're talking about grants. Michelle gave a great story about the grant opportunities that her client had with Virginia Housing First Mortgage. So these are our grants that we offer at Virginia Housing. Our down payment assistance grant, 2% for conventional, 2.5% for FHA. This is free money. Free money. The borrower does not have to pay this back. These specialty programs can be paired with our bond mortgages. Our closing cost assistance program, it can be paired with a VA loan or a USDA loan. Our plus second mortgages that can be paired with our bond mortgages or our non-bond mortgages, meaning the buyer can get up to 100% financing. And on top of that, if your client has a 680 or greater credit score, we're going to give them an additional 1.5%. So, with Virginia Housing, as Michelle mentioned with that success story, we do allow grant layering. So they can get our first mortgage, they can get our down payment, and they can get non Virginia Housing down payment assistance on top of that. And that is going to expand that opportunity for that buyer. That's going to increase their purchasing power by layering it. So you definitely want to get with that right loan officer that with Tidewater Home Funding that knows how to layer it. And this is just a few examples of how you can do the conventional mortgage with the DPA layered with the home program for Norfolk, or the conventional mortgage layered with our grant with the Chesapeake Home Program. And our programs can be layered with any any accessible down payment program, community down payment program that is allowed by that agency. And I just want to end with this exciting news since I have agents on the call. I just want to let you know that throughout the years, Virginia Housing has always recognized our top producing loan officers. So this year, we are taking the opportunity and going forward to recognize our top real estate professionals, our realtors, and we're calling that the Affordable Housing Heroes. And this is just a flyer of the top affordable housing heroes that we recognized last year. Well, this year, 2023. Well, now we're in 2024. But I look forward to see some Century 21 NACMN agents on this list next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Gigi. You always bring us such great information. And I know personally, I love the loan limit increase and the household income, and they don't have to be a first-time home buyer. So you have definitely covered meeting all the struggles and the needs, really, of a lot of people out there. So I think it's great. Thank you very much. I know you work hard on that. Our next guest speaker, and I'm thrilled because I know she covers a lot of territory. She is one busy lady, and this is Sharnita Bethia. And Sharnita is the Housing and Human Service Administration for the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, HRPDC. In her capacity, she works with a variety of organizations and agencies in the effort to promote regional approaches to issuing pertaining to poverty reduction, services for persons with disabilities, the elderly as well, various affordable housing issues. Prior to joining HRPDC in 2006, Sharnita was the program director for the Catholic Charities of Eastern Virginia, where she developed and managed their consumer credit counseling program, housing counseling, emergent services, and disaster response initiatives. Sharnita is the past president of Virginia Association of Housing of Counselors and serves on the board of directors for Senior Services of Southeastern Virginia and the Hampton Roads Housing Consortium. Recognized in 2012 as one of the top 40 under 40 by the Virginia Housing Coalition, Sharnita has spent countless hours helping agencies and the organizations throughout the state of Virginia improve their programs and resources by developing collaborative approaches to addressing vulnerable populations and society challenges. Sharnita holds a bachelor's in psychology from Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia, as well as various other certifications in financial counseling, housing, and mortgage counseling. Thank you, Sharnita. Your time is valuable, and we really do appreciate you being here. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say.
Great. Good morning, everyone. I have a ton of programs that I'm going to have to compress in 10 minutes, but I'm so glad to be here working with G and working with Michelle. Actually, Michelle and I have a client under contract now, so we're going through the process. We're very excited about that. We've had a buyer that's been out there looking for a while, so it's very exciting that they have been able to locate a property. So as G alluded, we have a lot of other programs and services. There's a QR code at the end of my presentation if you want to stay connected. We are actually presenting to our regional board today regarding the first regional housing assessment in the region, which is very important when you're looking at affordable housing options and housing for all. So I hope that you all will stay connected with us on some of the other programs and services that we have. So I want to really kind of go through some of the programs and services that we have really quick as it relates to down payment and closing costs. Just give you a quick overview of home programs and the purpose of it, explain the general program and property guidelines. We do another training with lenders specifically to kind of go over how to package the application. But for today's purpose, we're going to kind of stick with some of the property guidelines and overall general eligibility guidelines for your buyers, and talk a little bit about success in ensuring that your clients are able to take advantage of the program. So what is down payment assistance? We use that program or that word kind of loosely, but for our program with the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, we're referring to home funds from HUD. And that comes, of course, with a lot of other guidelines and processes that we need to follow. But it is a forgivable loan grant that is contingent upon a set number of years that the buyer has to remain in the home as their primary residence. The property cannot be subleased. They cannot use it as an investment. This is to ensure that buyers, first-time home buyers, have the option of achieving the dream of home ownership. And it practically covers a large amount of the down payment and the closing cost. As Michelle discussed with one of her success stories, sometimes it takes a lot of layers from other programs and with Virginia Housing as a partner to make the property and the goal of a home ownership for our buyers achievable. So we cover a lot of area. So right now we are covering Chesapeake, Portsmouth, Isle of Wight County, and Smithfield. And through our regional program with Department of Housing and Community Development, we cover James City County, Gloucester, Poquoson, York County, Williamsburg, and Surrey County actually is on the list as well. A lot of different programs. Most have the same guidelines from home, but there are some general guidelines that are a little different, particularly from each city to city. And we normally do a real estate training as well, where we kind of get into the nuances. But if you have any generic questions or general questions about the program, we can drill down to specifics for each of those localities. We always say it's a team in terms of who the stakeholders are when you're looking at walking through this process. The buyer has to be a part of the process, the lender, us as the DPA administrator, our agents, our real estate agents are very important in shepherding the process, housing counselors, and the closing agent as well. So this is some general eligibility for our program. There must be a legal residence or U.S. citizen, no ownership in a primary residence for the last 3 years. Their household income needs to be at or below the 80% area median income. And this number changes from year to year. Those guidelines and those numbers are set from HUD. Generally, they come in around March or April. We got them a little late last year, but they generally have been trending up, but we don't know those numbers until HUD issues those statements to us. They must have a pre-approval from a Virginia Housing approved lender. And they must contribute at least 1% of the sales price to the transaction of their own funds. This cannot be gift funds. This cannot be borrowing from their 401k. This has to be their own earned 1%. And we do look at their bank statements. We look at their saving trends to make sure that they're able to afford the 1% and be able to handle the other discretionary expenses that they have each month. Again, what determines the amount of assistance? So we look at the household income, we look at the sales price, we look at their closing cost worksheet to look at any projected closing cost, and we have to stay within debt to income ratios, and that's always a big question for our lenders and real estate agents. So for Chesapeake, Portsmouth, Isle of Wight County, and Smithfield, our ratios are 35-45, and it is a hard stop on the 45. For our regional program, it's 38-45. And we work with the lender to make sure that we have the correct amounts. A lot of questions is sometimes we have real estate agents call us and say, hey, G approved our buyer for 260, but now I see that their amount has gone down to 230. That is because we have to adjust down to ensure that the buyer is within those ratios. We look at other third-party contributions like the Virginia Housing Loan, the Federal Home Loan Bank, if there's any VITA assistance available to them, and Sherry will talk a little bit more about the VITA program from DHCD. We look at the spending plan for the buyer. Even though most of the approvals that we look at are going on gross, we spend a lot of time with the buyer looking at their individual spending plan to ensure that that proposed mortgage payment is within the guidelines and in their comfort level. We look at any cash assets, reserves, and available funds. So generally, these are the amounts for each city that we can assist with for grant funding. Chesapeake is 25,000, Portsmouth is 25,000, Isle of Wight County is up to 25,000, and for our regional program, we go up to 14,999. I know that's a weird number, but any subsidy under 14,999 is a 5-year affordability period. And what that means is the buyer has to stay in the home for those 5 years, and it's forgiven after the 5th year. For the amounts over 15,000, it's a 10-year affordability period. So that means that the buyer has to continue to stay in the property as their primary residence. So with this, these are the amounts of subsidy up to 25,000, for instance. But we have to do what is called a layering subsidy formula, which means that we're only putting enough in the transaction to make it affordable. Generally, as you all know, in this region, affordability is a huge issue. So what we're finding is that we have to subsidize the full amount just to get our buyers within a range to even be competitive in today's market. So we're able to make the cause and make the case that the full amount is needed. The buyer cannot get any funds back at closing. We still have to just make sure there's enough in the transaction for it to be affordable and reasonable for them. These are the acceptable loan products. Of course, we partner with Virginia Housing, but we are able to do a straight FHA, VA, or conventional loan. USDA has all awesome programs and products. We generally see that in our Smithfield, Isle of Wight, and some of our Franklin and those rural areas. Any Freddie or Fannie Mae products. And if there is any lender in-house products, we can review those as well. So the role of the real estate, why our partnerships with the real estate agents are so important. Of course, you all are going to assist the buyers with finding a move-in ready home. With our program, it can't be a fixer-upper. It can't be a 203 that they're having to do rehabilitation work on the property. It has to be in move-in condition, because what we don't want to do is to set our buyers up as a first-time home buyer with a lot of expenses as it relates to modifications and repairs. There is language that we require to have in a sales contract that alerts the seller that they're receiving funding from us and that there are some additional inspections that we have to do. Making sure that the buyer does not exceed the proposed sales price. So we have had some hiccups, and I told G that I would talk a little bit about that. For instance, you have a buyer, we have approved them for $225. You go out, they see a house for $250, and you all call G or Michelle back and say, are you all able to go that high? And you change the sales price, because with FHA you can go a little higher, and then we get a call that the buyer has exceeded the amount that we have proposed, and they're over ratios and they cannot get the 25,000. So it's very important that you don't exceed the sales price, because that could disqualify them from the program. Maintain communication between us, the lender, the buyer, program contacts, because we can generally close a loan within 30 days once we have cleared our HQS inspection. So we want to make sure that we're keeping everybody abreast. And there are some signatures that we have for the seller and the buyer. With the property conditions, with our clients, they must not be in a sales contract on an existing property prior to receiving assistance. So if you have a buyer that you feel will benefit from this program, please send them our way. Please send them to their Virginia housing lender, back to Tidewater Home Funding, for them to get pre-approved and to make sure they have applied for the program. We must do what is called a HUD quality HQS inspection. That only applies for Chesapeake, Portsmouth, Isle of Wight County, that we are required to do the HQS inspection. For any of our real estate agents, that is a glorified housing choice voucher or Section 8 inspection, same guidelines. We're looking at health and safety issues for the property, and those things have to be remedied prior to closing. With our regional program, they are required to have a whole home inspection, and we have to review that for any local code issues or anything of health and safety. So it's a little bit of difference with that, but we can kind of walk you through. All properties, prior to 1978 has to have a visual lead inspection. We handle that on our end, and we will kind of walk the agent through that process. And again, we talked about it before, the property must be their primary residence for that affordability period. No short sales or bank-owned properties for us. Again, we talked about the 203K rehab properties and as is. And the reason those stipulations are there is because if we're hitting a property that is as is and the seller refuses to remedy any of those health and safety issues, we can't close it. And with the 203K rehab, generally the property goes under rehab after the closing in some cases. So the property has to be in move-in condition at closing when the property is conveyed. Any property where the seller doesn't agree again to remedy those health and safety deficiencies, we can't move forward. We have to make sure that the property is not going to displace anyone at the end that's prior or within that leasing agreement. So if there is a tenant in the property, we have to wait until that agreement is done before a buyer can actually get that property. We have separate meetings with our real estate partners with the buyer. And I know this is very small, you probably can't read it, but we go over a real estate buyer, real estate agent agreement where we go over the program, similar to what we just discussed today, make sure they are well aware of the language that needs to be put into the contract. And also, the buyers are also required on all of our programs to have a whole home inspection. So the HQS inspection does not supersede or take the place of that. We require that all of our buyers receive a whole home inspection. How can you assist the buyers? Setting realistic expectations and goals with the buyer on the properties. And we talk a lot with our real estate agents about that. Select a property that meets the program's requirements that we discuss. Ensure the language is in that contract. Immediately after you have received a ratified contract, we ask that that is sent back to us so we can start the process with the lender to make sure we're ready and have everything that we need to close. We talked about the HQS inspection versus the whole home inspection, and just staying in constant contact with us if there's any issues. Sometimes when a seller sees that the buyer is receiving additional funds, they're hesitant. And we have been able to call the seller, the listing agent, and walk them through the program. And we're happy that some of the listing agents have now become buyer agents because they've been on both sides of the transaction. So that's a win-win for us when we've had real estate professionals be on both sides so they understand what's required for them. How does the buyer get started? We always, and that just goes back to my days at Catholic Charities, as first time home buyer education is key before you move forward. So we encourage our buyers to go ahead and sign up for the Virginia Housing course. We now accept in-person or online after COVID-19, just due to comfort of buyers being able to do that. But they are also required to complete an individual counseling session with a HUD-approved housing counseling agency prior to closing. Get approved with a Virginia housing lender. We do not accept any applications without the pre-approval. So if the buyer has not received a pre-approval, we send them back out to some of our HUD-approved housing counseling agencies to work on their credit if they need to, and we send them out to the Virginia Housing website to find a lender of their choice. And you can contact us, the program, for an application, or visit our website. I know with working with G and Michelle, they shepherd the process when they see that a client may qualify and they're under 80%. So we probably talk on a weekly, sometimes daily basis to make sure that the buyer is aware of the programs and services and how to structure that they get the most buying power when they go out here. This is our contact information. All of the forms, flyers, applications are online. There's a QR code here. I'm just going to pause real quick. If you want to sign up for any updates, any of our trainings that come up. We also have a Hampton Roads Housing Consortium. We meet quarterly about affordable housing issues in this region. It's a great networking process. So if you're interested in getting more information, additional flyers, you can hit that QR code right here, and we will be sure to send you out any of that information. I know this was a lot in a little bit of time, but I wanted to kind of give this overview. And G and Michelle, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, Sharnita, I knew you could do it in 10, and you did it. I know you cover a lot of area, and you really hit on all the really key points. I, as a loan officer, value that relationship also with the realtor, because really it is a team effort for these grant programs to make sure we all are on the same page as far as the property, and the debt to income is so vital for those borrowers to be able to close with these funds. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Next up, boy, guys, we just really have them rocking out here. So our next guest speaker, she's a hoot, I already know, is Sherry Miles. And Sherry Miles has worked with the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD, for 15 years, and she's still smiling. She is the program manager for several housing renovations and first-time homebuyer programs at the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. She has over 36 years working in real estate, mortgage lending, and financial assistance for home buyers. Thank you, Sherry, for your time, and I cannot wait to hear your presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to pull it up very quickly here. All right, can everyone see that?
We can.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right, great. Okay, so as G said, I am with the Department of Housing and Community Development. We work with, as a state agency, we work with a lot of different programs. And what we're going to talk about today, of course, is our first-time homebuyer programs. So DHCD administers for the state the down payment assistance program through the home program, which is a HUD program. And we work with the Virginia Individual Development Account. We love alphabets. So that's VITA. We'll talk about both of those programs. So first of all, the down payment assistance program. The goal of the program, of course, it is a deferred loan. A lot of people, call our office and say, I need the grant. I need the grant. It is funds that will be forgiven if, as Shanita said, if the home buyer stays in the home for a minimum of between 5 and 10 years, as our program states, then the funds are forgiven. There's no interest collecting. There's no monthly payments due on the amount, but we do always inform the potential home buyer that it is a deferred loan. So there will be a soft second filed on the home as a deed, and that will sit there again, with no payments, no interest for that 5 years if it's under 14,999, and if it's between 15,000, and our cap on the program statewide is 40,000. So if it's between 15,000 and 40,000, it's 10 years. But the long-term goal is, we really want to help with sustainable housing. We want to help with personal wealth, and to allow LMI Virginians, which is low moderate income Virginians, to own their first home, because this is truly a first-time home buyers program. So what are we looking at in eligibility? And these are general guidelines. We work with partners, so we do not issue the deferred loan ourselves. We work with partners all around the state that are nonprofits, PDCs. They apply to us to be an administrator of the program, and that group will actually come in and work with the client. In fact, a few of them are on the call today. They will come in and work with the client and ensure that they meet the guidelines and that they can qualify for this program. So the client, again, must be a first-time home buyer. They have to meet income and credit guidelines. And currently with HUD, the income is 80% AMI or under, and you must have a 620 minimum FICO score. You also have to have property eligibility. So what are we talking about with properties? So we can do single family, and that can be a modular or a manufactured home, as long as the home was built prior to June of 1976, for the manufacturer. We can do now, we've written some new guidelines, we can do a duplex as long as the client is buying one side and not buying the whole duplex with the intent of renting out one side. We can also do that with a triplex. So that allows us to do condos, townhomes, but it has to be an individually owned unit. And what are some of our guidelines? Well, what we have is we allow up to 10% of the sales price in the majority of the counties and cities around Virginia. HUD allows us to go to 15% in counties that are considered high cost or are economically distressed. And we are actually in the process, we've rewritten the guidelines, and we will have them uploaded to our website next week, and a list of all of those counties that are either high cost or economically distressed will be listed. And it's wonderful for a client. You think about somebody who's in the $225,000-$250,000 sales price range, to be able to come to closing, $25,000 or higher, depending on whether they're in a 10% or 15% county. And with that, like we said, we do have the cap of 40,000. So that's the maximum that we're going to provide on this program per household. But that 40,000 includes up to $2,500 in closing costs. So you could, if the client needs assistance with closing costs, you can assess $2,500 towards closing costs and the remainder of the money towards the down payment assistance. Again, this is a short version of the guidelines, and we also have a list of all of our providers on our website. And I strongly suggest that you reach out to one of the providers, because as we've heard, different areas also have overlays. So they're going to overlay, and like we just heard in Hampton Roads, their assistance is in the low 20,000. That's their maximum. So, and that's okay. But the program can go up to 40,000 if needed. So the second program we're going to talk about quickly is the Virginia Individual Development Account, VITA. Think about it as a Savers Club on steroids. This program has also, we kind of took it apart and rewrote it over the fall and winter. And what we're doing is, it is a matched savings program that also provides mentorship and financial education to a first-time home buyer. So for every dollar the family saves once they're enrolled in the program, they can be matched with up to $10 towards their home down payment. And with that, they can receive up to a maximum of $10,000. What's amazing about this program is we've rewritten the guidelines so that it can be layered on top of our down payment assistance program. So we have the ability to have, like I said, if the home is $250,000 and that client qualifies for the full $25,000 in down payment, and they've also enrolled in the VITA program, there's another $10,000 technically, or $11,000 that family could bring of their own funds towards the down payment, and to bring that payment within a reasonable range. So what can VITA be used for? VITA can be used for down payment and closing costs. It can be used for, we offer money management and financial education. We create a system where saving money is a habit, because they're required to put at least a minimum of $25 in their account every month with that financial coaching. And they also have to work with a housing counselor and intermediary. So that program is really helpful in kind of building that banking relationship, and helps that person create, or that family create, a savings that is going to continue after they purchase the home. So what are we looking at again for eligibility? Well, in rewriting the down payment guidelines and the VITA guidelines, we thought it was very critical to make sure that they played well together, in a way of saying that. What we see is that prior to this winter, VITA was kind of a standalone program, down payment was kind of a standalone program. And if they took classes in one program, they may not necessarily transfer to the other. And so the client would kind of have to redo things. And we all know, as first-time home buyers, that can be very discouraging. So what we did is we set it up so that if the client can be enrolled in VITA, and if they have eligibility in the down payment, let's say they take the homeownership class, it now checks boxes in both programs. So that's very, very helpful. But again, in order to be enrolled in VITA, we did set some benchmarks for the new year. The client, of course, has to be 80% or under AMI. They have to have a 580 minimum FICO score to enroll in VITA, because it's not I'm going to throw $1,000 in there and next week I'm going to pick up a $10,000 check. There is a minimum of 4 months that the client needs to be able to be in VITA, working with that financial counselor, working with the homeownership counselor, to get them, quote unquote, lender or mortgage ready. And the income that they have has to be documented earned income. So those are kind of the guidelines. Now, what we looked at is they have to be in a minimum of 4 months, but they actually have 2 years to be in the VITA Savings Club in order to get to a point that their FICO score is up to be mortgage ready, that they have enough money in the account, that their income is increased. But what happens if someone comes in and maybe they've had a recent bankruptcy, or maybe their credit score is below that 580? Something we're putting together that we hope to launch by the end of March is a pre-VITA program. We don't want to leave families out if they think that they can attain that homeownership goal, but maybe it's going to take 3 years. Maybe it's going to take 4 years. And so we are working with counselors around the state to get this set up so that if someone comes in to apply for VITA and they don't hit that 580 minimum score, we have the ability to refer them to a counselor that will work with them. And whether it's income, whether it's credit, whether it's savings, whether it's a combination of all three, get them to that point that they are VITA eligible, and then we can enroll them in VITA. So it's kind of a pre-step, but we think that's very important for Virginia in order to get the clients that could be eligible, but just won't be eligible in that tight 2-year time frame that VITA requires. And here's some of the contact information. There's my information at the top. Sabrina Blackett is the program administrator for the VITA account, and I work with the down payment account. So if you need to reach out to us, of course, please feel free. And thank you so much for attending today.
Thank you so much, Sherry. That was really great information. I was excited to hear, I also feel like anyone who's in the mortgage, a lot of times it's just education and teaching people they may not be able to buy now, but what can we do to get them there eventually? So
Exactly.
I love that VITA program. I had not heard about it. So thank you so much for sharing. I know that a lot of people on the call are probably really excited about that program.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. So next up, are you all ready? We have Alicia Thornwell. Alicia Thornwell is a development administrator with Newport News Redevelopment and Housing Authority. At NNRHA, she has direct oversight of the Home Investment Partnership Program grant, in which one of the initiatives is to provide down payment assistance to eligible homebuyers. In addition to her responsibilities at NNRHA, Alicia has her broker's license and sells real estate under the brokerage of Christopher Jordan Real Estate. On the personal side, she is a native Detroiter, a Hampton University grad, a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, incorporated the mom, I love this, the mom of one son who is a freshman at Norfolk State, and delighted to do her part to make homeownership achievable for those that desire to become a homeowner. Thank you, Alicia. It was great to connect with you, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. In addition, I have my colleague, Karen Johnson, who is the primary administrator of this program, to assist me because she definitely has the knowledge of this program. So I wanted to make sure I included her. And I'm just going to share my screen. Can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. All right, then let's get started. Just a quick overview of our program. So the source of funding for the down payment assistance program, it is a HUD-funded grant known as Home Investment Partnerships Program, or HOME for short. We recently did increase our down payment assistance amount from $10,000 to now $14,500 to eligible buyers. Our funding is for the city of Newport News only. So if you have a buyer who's looking to purchase in Newport News, certainly we can consider assisting them. Anyone in Suffolk, Hampton, our funds are not transferable. Obviously, we want them to be the owner occupants. We do have a 5-year affordability period, as mentioned by both Sharnita and Sherry, similar to their programs. And our funding can be used towards closing costs, so that's good too. There is a limited availability of funds. So our program year runs from July 1st through June 30th. On average, we help between 7 to 8 individuals and families with down payment assistance. So the great thing is you can apply year throughout the year, but it's only so much we can, so much assistance that we can provide. So oftentimes I will field initial questions about our down payment assistance program. Because this is a HUD-funded grant, we base our income limits on HUD. Oftentimes we receive calls from individuals that have been told that, we do what Virginia Housing does, or some other government entity, or maybe another municipality. But no, we go based on HUD. This is for fiscal year 2023. 2024 numbers usually come out around March or April, so the numbers will be updated. We do look at an 80% AMI. And so if I do get initial inquiry about our program, just to see if they can qualify, I will ask how many people are in their household, over 18, I will ask how many people are in their household to see if their income is at least below the maximum amount that HUD allows per family size. All right, so just a couple of best practices that we have found to be sufficient, or just to become more efficient. First of all, our application can be found online on our website at nnrha.net. Application packages can be dropped off, preferably they have, preferably you drop them off at our office because we want the applications to be complete. And completed applications do include an application fee of $15. We do reserve the right to return incomplete applications. So if if your W-2s are missing, your tax returns are missing, we're not going to look at them. And so just to save time, to save Karen's time, please make sure that your clients provide us with complete applications. Similar to Sharnita, we require that our buyers have a pre-approval letter. Buyers are highly encouraged to delay their house hunting activities until they have received a decision from us regarding their eligibility for down payment assistance. Oftentimes, we will get people who are already ratified. They have a closing date set, usually within 30 days, and it's just a process. So we do conduct a separate home inspection. Ours is the HQS, and any sided repairs must be repaired prior to closing. So one of the things that we want to start doing, again, is kind of managing the expectations, and that it's a little challenging to be competitive. Buyers are what am I trying to say here? They are accepting property inspections for information purposes only, with the agreement that they will do the repairs later. But then they come to us seeking repairs, come to us for down payment assistance. We do our home inspection internally, only to find out that they now have to go back to the seller to request repairs be made when they've already agreed to accept the house as is, seller to make no repair. So again, we highly encourage the potential buyer to wait, determine first that they at least qualify for down payment assistance. And then once we have a complete application in hand, we do ask that you give us 10 business days to do our due diligence to see if you qualify. One more thing, for those that are looking to get a down payment assistance, we do recommend a 45-day close period. Again, just for the underwriting purposes of what we have to do, the HQS inspection, and any possible repairs be performed. All right, and I have some good news. We do have Spark funding. We received our allotment for the program year 23-24. When I wrote this, we required that Spark funds be provided to our down payment assistant clients. So if you receive down payment assistance and you are using a Virginia Housing approved loan product, you would then qualify for Spark through an RHA. Yesterday, we just received news that we are opening up our Spark funding for anybody who is purchasing a Newport New. So you do not have to be a down payment assistance beneficiary, for example. So that's great news. Now, granted, we do not have a lot of funding, so we expect it to go pretty quickly. And if you're a lender, just know, and you're working with somebody who could qualify for Spark, we have funding. All right. And that concludes, just one quick slide here. Here's our information. Feel free to email us with any questions or comments. We're happy to help, and thank you very much.
That was great, Alicia. Thank you so much for your time. I am thrilled to hear about Spark. It's a great program that helps to reduce the rate for people, in case some of our realtors don't know what that is. But we at Tidewater Home Funding does, so that will be your point of contact for us to help those borrowers navigate that program. So thank you again, Alicia. Great.
My pleasure.
Okay, next we have up is Miss Sherry Payton. And Sherry, Miss Payton has been in the housing industry since 2002, when she received her real estate license and began working with buyers and sellers as a full-time real estate agent with partners in real estate in Hampton. In 2010, Ms. Payton began working as a development program specialist for Suffolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority. There, she joined the Virginia Association of Housing Counselors and received her comprehensive housing counselor certification and accepted the role as board member of Hampton Roads Housing Consortium. In 2015, Ms. Payton joined Hampton Redevelopment and Housing Authority as the housing program and housing counselor. In 2019, became HUD certified housing counselor to a HUD certified counselor in 2021. She was promoted to her current role as a housing programs manager. So thank you so much, Sherry. I know Hampton is a really wide, huge city, and I know there's lots of
Yeah.
people that can really benefit from what you have to say. So it's been a pleasure to speak to you, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you so much. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, I hope we all see it. I am excited. Thanks for having me. And I just wanted to let everyone know that I guess one of the things I always tell people when they're talking about down payment assistance program, and it's, a little bit, people are a little bit disappointed, but Hampton does not have a citywide down payment program like Newport News or Portsmouth or some of the other cities. Unfortunately, our down payment program is limited to the houses that Hampton Redevelopment and Housing Authority that we sell, because we, from time to time, we'll do new construction or we do rehab. So I guess the next question you would probably ask is, okay, so why are you on this call? Because this is about down payment assistance. Well, we do offer other programs that may help assist lenders and agents with your buyers and sellers. Let's see if I can get this thing to go. Oops, wrong way. Boop, there you go. So we offer that pre and post purchase education. We offer pre and post credit counseling. So when Shanita spoke about one of their requirements was that those buyers must have housing counseling, we do that housing counseling. We also do mortgage delinquency counseling and home and repairs and accessibility grants. Our pre and post counseling, we do provide Virginia Housing Homebuyer Education classes every other month. We, about once or twice a year, may do an after the sale class. That's what every homeowner needs to know. And we do hold homeowner rehab workshops. Our pre-purchase and credit counseling. So if you have a person that may not be quite ready, who needs that extra time to get their credit scores up, take care of something that popped up on the credit report, we do help with that. Our housing counselors, we're here to make sure that your buyers are credit ready and are mortgage ready. I think the biggest thing that we offer to especially our real estate agents and loan officers, is that if you send a client to us and we get them mortgage ready, we will put them right back in your pipeline. So that all you have to do at that point is get them pre-approved and start shopping, because we would have done all that upfront heavy lifting with the credit counseling. And also, we will help assist your buyers with the spending plan that's needed for some of the down payment programs, and make sure they have that pre-purchase counseling. We can give a certificate for that to show that that was completed. Once your buyer gets into the house, and they may run into a problem, and I know some of the real estate agents and some lenders, they may get calls from past clients saying, hey, I lost my job. Hey, I'm having a hard time. I don't know what to do. Should I refinance? I'm not sure what I need to do. We're struggling. Well, we do help in that regard. We do have mortgage delinquency counseling. So if that buyer is past due or think they're going to be past due, and there was something that happened to them, life does happen. We do assist in that, help negotiate with the mortgage company, do a modification, forbearance, whatever is necessary to help keep that buyer in the property. And of course, because you referred them to us to help in that, believe me, you'll have a sale later on when they are ready to, go ahead and resell that house and downgrade or upgrade. You will have your buyer in your wheelhouse, or continue to have them in your pocket, in your wheelhouse. Also, another thing that we offer are rehabilitation programs. We have our rehabilitation program. That program will cover things like electrical panel, that sort of thing, and roofs, weatherization, windows, storm doors, and accessibility programs. So you have a client that just purchased their home, but they need some doors widened, and they need a wheelchair ramp added, or they need some type of grab bars or something like that in their tubs. We can help assist with that. The accessibility grant is up to $8,500, but the weatherization and the home rehabilitation programs, they are up to $30,000 each. Now, I will say that there are income limits with these programs. For the home and weatherization program, it is an 80% AMI limit, but accessibility is up to 100%. So really, all you need to do is just contact us, and we will take it from there. Full disclosure, our home rehab and weatherization, there is a waiting list. We're working on that waiting list, and we're just hammering it down, but there is a waiting list. So these are some things that can help your buyers. So when they're calling you because they have an issue, you can send them to us, and we'll try to make sure that's taken care of. There is as Sherry said earlier, it is more a loan rather than a grant for the home and the weatherization programs. It is, there will be a deed of trust, a deed of trust put on the property in the amount of whatever was spent. It is for 5 years. And after that 5 years, it'll be forgiven, and there's no interest and no payments. The accessibility, it is a true grant. Once the work is done, it's done. No deed of trust. It is a true grant for that. If you have any other questions, you can always contact me. Here's my contact information, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Sherry, so much. That was great. I know when we spoke on the phone, I did not realize the services that you offer after someone purchased their home. So that's very valuable information to know. So thank you again. I really appreciate your time. So next up, but not last, we have Miss Mary Beth Baker. And Mary Beth is a Senior Vice President and Director of Mortgage Operations for Powell Valley National Bank, based in Jonesville, Virginia. She considers it a privilege to have served as a community banker for over 25 years, building friendships, relationships, and making a positive difference within the communities in which she has served. Mary Beth currently serves on the board of directors for Virginia Title Center. She is a member of the Blue Ridge chapter of Mortgage Bankers, has served as a previous board member for the Virginia Bankers Association, and currently serves as the chair of the Lee County Tourism Board. Mary Beth and her family are avid golfers and enjoys being active within the church and community. Thank you, Mary Beth. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I am excited for you to share what you have to offer and Tidewater Home Funding can give. So take it away.
Thank you, G. Thank you. Can everyone see my presentation?
Not yet. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Well, we appreciate the opportunity to participate today, and we are excited to share the affordable housing program that has been made available to us and to our partners at Tidewater Home Funding. And with this grant program, this provides proceeds in amounts and values ranging from $12,500 up to $15,000 for first-time home buyers and community partners. As a member of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta, we receive up to $750,000 per calendar year in which to award in the form of grants across the markets that we serve. And so we are extremely fortunate to be able to provide these proceeds, which can be used for principal reduction, for down payment assistance, closing cost assistance across each of these localities. Requirements in relation to the program, homebuyer counseling is required. So every participant will require to participate in approximately a 30 to 45-minute homebuyer counseling session. This is extremely beneficial for those first-time homebuyers as they begin to learn how to budget and to allocate for those funds and those expenses that surround the opportunity of being a homeowner. There is a 5-year retention period that is also implemented with the program as long as the recipients remain in the home for up to a 5-year period of time. These proceeds do not have to be repaid. First-time homebuyers may receive funding up to $12,500. A first-time homebuyer is defined as an individual who has not resided, who has not owned a home within the 3 most recent calendar years. Both applicants, if there's more than one applicant, at least one of those applicants would have to meet the definition of a first-time homebuyer. Community partners. Our community partners are defined as currently employed or retired law enforcement officers, local educators, healthcare workers, firefighters, first responders, as well as our active military and veterans and or their surviving spouses. What is very unique about the Community Partner Program is the fact that you do not necessarily have to be a teacher or an instructor, but if you are a cafeteria worker, if you work in housekeeping, if you are a bus driver, those type of positions also allow for the qualification of this program. Same effect within healthcare. You do not necessarily have to be a nurse or have to be any type of a licensed practitioner, but if you are a nursing aide, if you work in housekeeping, if you serve as in a clerical position, that also qualifies you for this definition. $15,000. That's a great incentive, which can be applied towards those down payment funds or towards the coverage of those closing costs. Each applicant must have an income range that falls within that 80% of the area median income. There is a $1,000 minimum homebuyer contribution, and there is a max $250 cash back limitation at closing. We also have rehabilitation products. This is a product that is referred to as the Community Rebuild and Restore. It provides a maximum amount or maximum benefit of up to $10,000. However, the qualifying individual must reside in a FEMA designated and impacted area with a specific FEMA identification number for that qualification purpose. However, if you do have an applicant who would fall within this category, this is a great incentive to help provide restoration to that impacted home and locality area. You'll see a reference in relation to the eligibility guidelines and that 80% of the median income level. I believe for the Chesapeake, Hampton Roads area, for a 4-person household, the maximum income would be approximately $88,000 per calendar year. So that kind of gives you a glimpse or an idea in relation to those qualification ranges. Any of our lenders at Tidewater can complete that calculation and work to make that designation on their behalf. And so we'll be glad to work in relation to that process. Typical fees, standard fees apply in relation to origination cost. We are limited, and we of course would not and cannot provide any type of an additional fee in relation to providing this product to those respective and prospective home buyers. There is the 5-year minimum retention period. So As long as the applicant remains in that home for that minimum of 5 years, then these grant proceeds, again, they do not have to be repaid. We can provide mortgage structures which support fixed rate, adjustable rate, and even a balloon feature. So we have an array of flexibility in those regards. We cannot produce eligibility for products that would have an interest-only feature, that would have any type of negative amortization, or that would incorporate any type of a specific processing or prepayment fee associated. Documentation: your lender with Tidewater Home Funding will work to collect the qualification information. Of course, we do require 30 days of continuous pay stubs, 2 most recent years W-2s. We will qualify in relation to the census tract area, and an executed intake certificate is required. And we will work with each respective applicant in relation to the collection and the completion of that documentation. Again, there is home buyer counseling that is required. This is a very, it's a very flexible experience. Each applicant has the flexibility. They can schedule their home buyer counseling session at a time that is convenient for them. Each home buyer is required that once they've completed the session, they will receive a certification, just attesting to that completion and to fulfilling that requirement. And of course, each applicant then will be required to share confirmation of the receipt of that certificate with their respective loan officer. Best practices, of course, and this is specific to the qualification process. Each respective lender will work to ensure that we have validated the verification and the qualifying income parameters. And then, of course, we will work to ensure that all elements of the application process have been adhered to. Compliance and risk management, of course, there are compliance-related obligations that each individual who participates in the transaction is held to and responsible for. And of course, that includes the respective loan officer, any processor, our underwriters, our closing agents, and our realtor partners. So it's very important that we each work to ensure that that we follow due diligence across the transaction and ensure that we've documented and that we have completed all of our respective requirements in relation to conveying and working to qualify each respective applicant. Ensuring, again, that we have taken into account all household income and that we've verified that information. Our partners, we do have marketing material available, and we'll be glad to work with each of you in relation to any qualified applicant that we may have. And of course, we are always happy to help. And again, we appreciate the opportunity to speak today, and we'll be glad to address any questions that anyone may have at the end of the presentation. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. I know personally how valuable this program is, and I get so excited when funds are available. And at Tidewater Home Funding, we have really pioneered the way. We try to get that income documentation up front immediately before they even start shopping, so they know if they've qualified to use those funds. So thank you again. That was wonderful. Excellent. So that ends our presenters, and I just wanted to thank each and every speaker. Your time and your knowledge, your education is just so invaluable, and I really do hope that everybody here learned something. I know that I did. I also want to thank those people who dialed in and who are on the Zoom call. Your time too is very valuable, and I hope that you took away some good nuggets and your mind's already going with those people that you want to call and say, hey, you need to reach out to these people at Tidewater Home Funding. They know what they're doing. We are here to help and to serve, and so we're excited about that opportunity.